All right, look, just talking about Mark Carney, north of the border, the new Prime Minister designate, guy who has citizenship in 3 countries, was a private citizen until yesterday, not elected by anyone, and they want to lecture us about democracy and so on and so forth. Yeah, please. Anyhow, moving on now, Bill Walton, the non-woke CEO and host of the Bill Walton Show, is joining me now. He formerly served on the action and landing teams for Donald J. Trump, 2016, and the transition team then. Good to have you on the program, Bill. Thank you for getting up early.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
Really appreciate it. You're right there in Virginia. You told me during the break you've got Washington surrounded, which I appreciate. Well, somebody needs to keep them under control.
I'm up on the side of the mountain. I can lob incoming from here.
There you go. All right, so Mark Carney up here in Canada, very hateful of Donald Trump. So you got an anti-Trump, never Trump guy. Obviously, the tariffs, Justin Trudeau not a big fan, Canada not a big fan. But look, these folks put 280% tariffs on our milk, 200% tariffs on our eggs. I mean, it's not like they didn't put tariffs on us for agricultural products for decades now and punish us. So the tariffs, Donald Trump's trying to level the playing field. That's the way it looks for me. I'm not an economic expert, but I can say, look, if they're charging us 200-300% going into a country, we should return the favor. What do you say? You say it's not the economic impact that's most worrisome to you.
Well, I think the word that Donald Trump uses is reciprocity.
Yeah.
Which is, if we have got the same tariffs that other countries do, then that seems to be a fair game. But that hasn't been the case. I mean, other countries have much higher tariff barriers than the United States. I mean, if you look at Europe, they've got 10-20% tariffs on automobiles, where we have 2.5%. And you mentioned the tariffs that Canada's imposing. They've been protecting their markets and coming after ours. And Trump rightly says we need to bring back jobs. We need to bring back American manufacturing. And and tariffs are one of the weapons he's using.
So is it concerns you? I mean, here's one falsehood that this part I do understand. Tariffs will create inflation. No, tariffs are not inflationary. Government spending is inflationary. That's the end of the conversation. Government spending, devaluing the currency, printing more money and spending more, that creates inflation. Tariffs do not create inflation, do they? I think I lost you there for a moment, Bill. I'm just talking about the inflationary impact of tariffs. That's all right. I just want to make sure that we're clear on this. Government spending creates inflation. Tariffs do not, correct?
Well, government spending creates inflation, and government spending financed by issuing debt really creates inflation, and that's exactly what Biden was doing during his entire 4 years in office. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to have tariffs modestly increase inflation. It depends on how the sellers from other countries handle it. Sometimes they eat the increase themselves, and sometimes it's passed on to consumers. But I'd say it's a modest amount compared to what government spending does.
So when you look at what's happening with Donald Trump on the economy, look, you've got a situation where 250 million birds were killed, chickens in this country, and people are complaining, the price of eggs. Well, Joe Biden murdered 250 million chickens to deal with an avian flu issue that was not much of an issue, according to many in the agricultural sector. You've got Donald Trump trying to reel that in. You've got him trying to deal with tariffs. You've got him trying to deal with a border security, wars in Ukraine, and everything else. How do you give him, what kind of a score would you give him thus far on? I mean, he's got things on every front. He's working before. I'm sure that the lights went on in the Oval Office an hour and a half ago. I'm sure of it. And he'll work until 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, right? He's working all the time.
Well, they were off an hour and a half ago, and they'll come back on in 2 hours. I mean, he sleeps, 2-3 hours?
Yeah.
And he's full at it. And I'd give him very, very high marks, probably almost straight A's. I mean, he's also working on energy. He's working on, he's closed the border. And as he said, you didn't need new laws. You just needed a new president, and he's done that. He's got all his agencies working in deregulation. We've got Elon Musk finding incredible amounts of fraud and spending going to things that American taxpayers don't want. You rein that back in, and we can end up with a fairly decent economy. It's going to take time, though. I mean, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was on TV a few days ago and said that there's going to be a period of transition here where we go from all the spending by the government to spending in the private sector, and that's what we ought to do. But it's not going to be entirely smooth sailing to get from here to there.
What are some of the things that you think it can be done now? Look, I think that the tariffs are worth a roll, and I don't think it's terribly risky. Look, if Canada has these massive tariffs on our agricultural products, reciprocal tariffs seem appropriate to me, as you pointed out. When we look at what's going on here, I think a fair and level playing field would be good for America. Look, we pay for everything. We pay for the United Nations, the World Health Organization, NATO. We foot the bill for every damn thing. And then those same countries, like you pointed out, Europe has tariffs that damage us to the tune of $300 billion or more a year. Why would we pay the bill and pick up, the interest rates and everything else? It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I'm encouraging President Trump to not spend money on all those international organizations. I mean, he exited the World Health Organization, which is a really good idea. But, there are lots of smart people that have different views about tariffs. And, the free traders will say, Adam Ricardo will tell us that comparative advantage is going to make it better for everyone. Well, that's only true if all the countries playing in the game are playing by the same rules, and that has not been the case at all. And particularly since we let China into the World Trade Organization, they've been abusing that from day one.
Yeah. Probably the biggest threat to me still is China. Bill Walton, the non-woke CEO, host of the Bill Walton Show. Appreciate you being here, sir, so early. Of course, it's just as early here where we are. But I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me on.
There you have it. Bill Walton, everybody. Still to come, Ann Funder will be here, the angel mom. She had a 15-year-old son die in 22 after taking fentanyl. And those in Canada think, well, we only send 43 pounds at a time over the border. No big deal. Yeah. And then Ivy's coming up in just a moment, too. Man, it's a pretty big morning here. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Getter, Parler, and anything else you can think of. Anything else you can think of, go ahead and follow us there, too. I'm sure we must have an account. I'll be right back.